This, while it's a continuation of the Melakartas scheme, is essentially going to be on Hindustani music, the counterpart of Carnatic music. We have, as I've explained before, we have two main systems of classical music in India: the northern music, which is called Hindustani music, and the southern variety, which is called Carnatic music. Now, I'm going to actually start with the Melakarta scheme and try and take you to what kind of system is available in Hindustani music, what um, uh, grammar, or how they have organized their music. Okay, that's the whole idea. Uh, Before coming to the way its music is organized today, I have to go to a little bit of background. Now, you see, Hindustani music, unlike Carnatic music, is heavily what they call gharana based. Now, gharana would loosely translate as very close knit family. You could put it that way, which means that people of a particular family practice a particular variety of music, and they they guard it very jealously. They don't give it to everybody. They don't teach everybody. So you have to be, you have to go to that master. He has to accept you as his disciple, and then there is a particular small ceremony. It involves, it involves a little bit of tying of a thread around your wrist, and then once he accepts you, then he teaches you, and he will teach you what his virtually their heirloom, family heirloom, and you have to again commit to them that you're not going to share this heirloom with everybody. So to that extent, Hindustani music, the standardization which we have in Carnatic music, which has been there going for almost 200 years or so, that's that was kind of absent till at least the early part of the 20th century. So there was not much standardization, but there was. So therefore, for instance, there were some rags which we find a particular way in one gharana, in a slightly different way in another gharana. So those things are all. This is a little uh, uh, loosely structured that way. And amidst all this, they had, from one part of the country, mainly from a place called Rajasthan, they had a concept of what Karthik had explained in one of the classes, the concept of male and female ragas, Raga, Ragini. And the Raga, Ragini concept also had children. Now, I'll tell you about Raga Ragini concept first before going on to what I'm going to share with you about how they have systematized it. Because Raga Ragini, while it looks systematic, was actually not systematic from a grammar sense. I'll tell you how it is so. See, in the Raga Ragini system, they have what are known as 6 principal male ragas. These male ragas are called Bhairav, Malkons, Hindol, Deepak, Shri, and Megh. Now, a little bit of the grammar of these ragas will help to make it clear why these don't really qualify for parent scales. Bhairav is a rag which corresponds to what we call as Maya Madhava Gaule, which is the 15th Melakarta, and it is a rag with all 7 notes. So it is in that sense a complete rag, and it can be a parent rag. But Malkons is a pentatonic scale. It's not a 7 note rag. It's a 5 note rag. Hindol is again a 5 note rag. Okay, Karthik Hindol corresponds to our Sunada Vinodini. In Sunada Vinodini, so therefore it goes Sagamadhanisa, Sanidha Magasa. So if you remember the film Kala, Kahin Deep Jale Kahin Dil, that's in Rag Hindol. That's in Rag Hindol. Uh, Deepak is a slightly complex rag. I'm not too sure about the grammar of that rag also, but it is not a complete rag. Now, Shri is again a derived rag, and Megh is again a 5 note rag. So you see here, this is a emotion-based concept of parent scales rather than the grammar-based concept. So you have these 5 male rags, and then these rags have 5 wives or 5 raginis each. And each of these Raga Ragini couples also have 8 children or Raga Putras. Now let us try and look at what are the Ragini rags for Bhairav, and we will see how there is no grammar involved here. Bhairav is known to be the first raga in the Hindustani system that emanated, according to their legend, it emanates from Shiva himself. A simple and common raga This is seldom heard in concerts, is what this particular entry says, which I picked up from the net. Why it's seldom heard in concerts is because this is a morning rag. So they don't sing this rag in the evening. Most concerts are held in the evening. So therefore, you seldom hear this rag in concerts. Now, what are the raginis? What are the wives of this rag? One of the wives, strangely, is Bhairavi. Now, Bhairavi is another Melakarta rag in the Carnatic system called Todi. It's the eighth Melakarta in the Carnatic system. So, therefore, you have a parent, grammar-wise, a parent scale becoming a wife of another parent scale. Then you have slightly vague rag called Punyaki, whose grammar I don't know. And Bilavali, which corresponds to Shankara the 29th Melakarta, which again seems a little odd, right? And then you have two other rags, which are grammar of which is not very well known. But these rags are called as the wives of Bhairav. So as you can see, it's a very emotional and very much what you can call as a subjective kind of a classification rather than a grammar classification. So before that, so therefore, this is what existed till about 1904, 1905. Now, in the year 19 around turn of the century, of the last century, that is the 19th to 20th century, they came on the music scene in the Hindustani music a person by name Bhatkande. Now, Bhatkande was a music scholar and a musicologist, and he wanted to integrate the gharanas and give a common grammar to Hindustani music. So he was a little upset at the fact that people are secretive and go around practicing these things and having some vague classifications which are not really based on any scientific methodology. So therefore, he wanted, now mind you, this is as late as early part of the 20th century, right? So he set up a music school, and he started teaching people without asking them for proving their merit and stuff like that. He started a school, anybody could join the school, and he tried to teach various gharanas. The various schools of music were all taught in the same institution. But he was still a little worried about, or rather, he had his own ideas about all other forms of music. And actually, you'd be surprised to know that, especially those who person who knows the grammar of music, he had a very poor opinion about Carnatic music. He felt that Carnatic music is too staccato, is too heavily based on beats, and it is not soothing on the ear, that kind of a thing. So this was his original view about Carnatic music, and but somebody told him there is this Carnatic music practitioner deep south in a place called Eteyapuram, uh, and uh, uh, and uh, and that person has a lot of material with him, a lot of old material with him, and books and stuff like that. So you may want to go and meet him. So in those days, it wouldn't have been easy to travel, but there was a train service available. So he was from Maharashtra, the northwestern part of India. So he set out in quest of this gentleman by name Subbarama Dikshitar, who happens to be the grand nephew of Muthuswami Dikshitar, who is about whom Karthik has mentioned a lot, and whose compositions are revered up to today, and who is among the trinity of Carnatic music. So Subbarama Dikshitar was actually his brother's grandson. Uh, okay, so he went to meet him, and Subbarama Dikshitar had in his possession uh, the one of the original edition, one of the few copies left at that time of what we call as the Chaturdandi Prakashika. The Chaturdandi Prakashika was written by Venkatamaki. Venkatamaki is the person who made the 72 Raga Melakarta scheme. So 72 Raga Melakarta scheme is explained in detail in the Chaturdandi Prakashika. And although Subbarama Dikshitar was himself not a very sharing person, for some reason I think they hit it off with each other, and he shared a copy of his Chaturdandi Prakashika with Bhatkande. He gave it to him. He effectively gave him the copy, and Bhatkande, it was like a, like Columbus discovering America. It was a revelation for him that what he found in the Charturdandi Prakashika, and therefore he burst into song. And this is the song he composed. Before we go to the song, sorry, I have to tell you about this. Uh, See, before we start the song, I must tell you a slightly different classification of this three uh, uh, re's and three gas, and so we have this re one, re two, and re three, and ga one, ga two, ga three. Now, in the Chaturdandi Prakashika, in the Venkatamakhin's treatise, he calls this ra, re, and ru. Instead of R1, R2, R3, he calls it Ra, Ri, and Ru. And similarly, Ga, Gi, and Gu, and Dha, Dhi, Du, and Na, Ni, Nu. This is just a method of, instead of 1, 2, 3, he says use this. Because this is important, because in the song that follows, you will find that he's used this. What does the song say? The song is in Hindi, the language Hindi, and it says Ab Chatura Dandi Mata Venkata Sunave. It means now the creator of the Chaturdandi Prakashika, that is Venkatamakhi, he is going to demonstrate. He has demonstrated this. What has he demonstrated? He has demonstrated that Dwadasa Suran ke khata chakra banave. That means he has made 12 sets, 12 chakras or 12 sets of various combinations of swaras. And what are these, and how are these formed? You see, he's even, what I told you last class, he's even actually said that. One could be, he's said it here, how the first part comes, Ragi, Raga, Ragi, Ragu. You see, that is Raga, that means, so you have Raga, Ragi, Ragu. Then you have Rigi, Gu, Rigi, Rigu. And finally you have Rugu. So you have 6 there. Similarly, you have the same thing here in Dhana, Dhana, Dhani, Dhanu, Dhini, Dhinu, Dhunu. So 6 and 6, and how these combine together along with the Dvasaptati, which means 72. How is the 72 formed? Because there are 2 madhyams or 2 mas. Therefore, you have 36 plus 36 forming 32. I mean 76, 72. And this is kind of distilled in this song itself. And these are the, what Karthik mentioned also, the word Janaka. He's used the word Janaka here. These are the parent ragas. So Janaka, these ragas can be called the Raganga, Saba, Janaka, Adi, Kahave. They can be called the Janaka ragas or the parent scales. And he is also, and from these come the Arohana and Avarona of various other rags, which are both Bhashanga and Upanga. What is Bhashanga? Bhashanga would mean a rag which takes alien notes other than the scale from which it is derived. And Upanga is a subset of the rag, which takes, say, for instance, if you have a rag which has got 7 notes, and then you have a rag like Mohana which has 5 notes, which is a janya of Hari Kamboji, then you will have that is a Upanga rag, which means it drops a few notes. That's called a Upanga rag, and Bhashanga is. Now, what I'm going to do is, so this is the next 2 pages of actually what I've told you just now. It's just explained. In case I got stuck, I thought I would refer to this, but I've explained the song to you. Now I'm going to play this song. I hope it works. Kala and I. This is being sung. This is. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is actually sung by a girl who is actually the daughter of Kanikeshwaran, who stays in the USA. Karthik knows this gentleman. He has done a lot of work in disseminating Carnatic music and a few other things in the USA. And this girl is his daughter, actually.
सुनावि द्वादश सुरन की
चक्र बनावे अब चतुर धन्वी मत वेंकट सुनावे अब चतुर धन्वी Raga ragi ragurigi Raga ragi ragurigi Ri guru gura chave Raga ragi ragurigi Ri guru gura chave Nana dhani dhaludhini Nana dhani dhaludhini Vasaptati mela, Vasaptati mela, Pratimadhyama sujanita, Vasaptati mela, Pratimadhyama sujanita, Raga sab janakari, kahave Vasaptati mela, Vasaptati mela, Pratimadhyama sujanita, Raga sab janakari, kahave Aroha Avaroha Avaroha ki vida ko sath Aroha Avaroha ki vida ko sath Vashang upang Vashang upang Chatura upajare ab chatura dhanvi mat venkat sunave ab chatura dhanvi
Right. That was it was actually sung in a rag called Purvi, which is a derivative rag. I'll come to this point actually about Hindustani music. In Hindustani music, there is this little confusion we have in our music system where we're not sure whether it's a Melakarta is only a scale or whether it's also a rag. There are a couple of different opinions here. So, whereas in Hindustani music, they're very clear. They don't call this a rag at all. What has happened is using this concept, Bhatkande went back to wherever everything somewhere. I'm not too sure which part of Maharashtra he came from, but he went back and he decided to try and fit the grammar, fit the various ragas available in Hindustani music into a grammar which he borrowed from the Venkatamakian tradition of 72 Raga Melakartas. So this is the grammar that he has made, and he called these parent scales as Thaats. He's called them as Thaats. He's not called them as Ragas. He's called them as Thaats, and they are purely scales. They are ragas are derived from these scales. This is how he made it. Now, how did he formulate this? To get to that, we'll first go into something. We'll revise something which we did last time, which is this. And all that I have done here is I have put the two scales of Hindustani and Carnatic music one below the other, except that last time I think we had the Carnatic scale on top and the Hindustani music below. I have transposed it. I have taken the Hindustani scale on top and the Carnatic below. You will notice about the Hindustani music scale, there is a certain amount of simplicity in it. The simplicity comes out because there is no overlapping concept. There is no note which overlaps another. It's a straightforward linear scale, 12 notes. And each of the 12 notes has one name, no two names. Right? So you have the Shajja, then you have the Shadaj or Shajja, then you have the Komal Rishab, the Shuddha Rishab. You have the Komal Gandhar and the Shuddha Gandhar. You have the Shuddha Madhyam and the Prati Tibra Madhyam. They don't call it Prati, they call it Tibra Madhyam. Then you have one Pancham, one Sharaj, one Pancham. This is typical of all Indian music. You have to have these three notes as constant: Sharaj, Pancham, and the tops, the at the end of the octave, another sa. So then you have Komal Dhevat, Shuddh Dhevat. Then you have Komal Nishad, Shuddh Nishad. And you have the Sharad. Now, okay, Kala, can I ask a question for which I want to reply from the audience, from people?
Of course.
Yeah. So what I want now, there are now, given the theory that I talked about yesterday, we can actually derive, given these notes, how many ragas can, or other parent scales, let's not use the word raga, how many parent scales can we have? This can be derived in two ways. One is using um, uh, the logic which I used in last class. Another is by the logic of elimination. There are two ways in which we can derive it. Would somebody like to take a shot at how many ragas can there, how many thoughts can there be, or how many parent scales can there be using these, with using the same rules? That means if you have a ray, if you have ray one, you can't have ray two. If you have if you have a ga one, you cannot have a ga two. So you can have only ray one and ga one, ray one and ga two, that way. So using this concept, can we derive how many rag parent scales there can be?
Yes. So if you keep the top dhani fixed and only work with Riga, you have one Ri, or you can take Ri 1 can pair with Ga 1 or Ga 2. So that's two combinations there. And then you can take the second Ri and it can pair with Ga 1 and Ga 2. So you have another two combinations there. Then you have, so you can in total have only four. Is that right?
Yes.
So far? Okay. So you can have four. And so equivalently, you can have four on the top as well, right? For the dha and ni, because they're symmetrical. So for each lower level combination, you have four top level. And so 4 times 4, you should have 16.
And
And what? In terms of like chakrams and all
that
that?
Shuddha Madhyama and Prati Madhyama.
Oh, Shuddha Madhyam. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And then double that. So there should be, yes, 32.
30.
Yeah.
So technically, if Bhatkande had actually adopted the Carnatic system to the Hindustani system, there should have been 32 thoughts, right? 32 thoughts. If he had used the same logic which Venkatamakin has used, he should have got 32. There is another way of deriving this. That is by the logic of elimination. I explained this to some extent last time. Remember, now because we are using unique notes here and no overlapping notes, the concept of first tree and first guard doesn't come. The concept of third tree and third guard doesn't come. Similarly, first dha and first knee, or third dha and third knee, which means it eliminates 4 of the chakras straight away. 1, 6, 7, and 12, which means 24 ragas are eliminated straight away. I'm doing now the reverse way, elimination way. From the 72, how can you derive this 32? So you eliminate those 4. Similarly, from each of the remaining 8 sets, you can eliminate 2 each, which is 16. So 16 plus 24, 40 you eliminate. 72 minus 40 makes 32. So in both ways, we now know that in the Hindustani system, there can be 32 parent scales. Right? That should be, so if he had actually adopted ditto, there should have been 32. But what has Bhatkande actually done? We'll come to that. So this, right. He has, let us start, let's keep this little in suspense and see how we go. The first thought he has had, naturally he can't choose 1 to 6, he couldn't have used, because 1 to 6 is got those dissonant notes, or those Vivadi notes as we call it. So he has to start from 7. So from 7 to 12, from the 7 to 12 set, he has chosen one rag. And that rag is, that Thaat is called Bhairavi. He's chosen a Bhairavi Thaat. Bhairavi Thaat will be similar to what we call Todi in Carnatic music. That is, that is in Hindustani music, it's a Shadaj, it's called a Komal Rishabh, it's called a Komal Gandhar, it's called a Shuddha Madhyam, it's called a Pancham, it's called a Komal Dhevat, and it is called a Komal nishad. This is the parent scale. It calls it a Thaat. He doesn't call it a rag. From this derives the other rags. Now, this is the Todi. The next one he has chosen is, when you go to the next one, you will realize that he has skipped all the other rags. The next one he has chosen is Bhera, which corresponds to 15, number 15 of the Carnatic system, one is Mayamala Gaudai. So therefore, you can see here that he has chosen one rag from the second chakra, and then he skipped all the other rags, and he has gone to one rag from the third chakra. And what is the raga he has chosen? This raga is very familiar to all of us. This was the Maya Moda Gode, and that raga is called Bhairav. That Thaat is called Bhairav. Bhairav. From Bhairav Thaat derives the other rags. Why has he done this? There is a particular reason for this. See, what happens in Hindustani, what happens in Hindustani music is uh, there is a rag which is the most familiar rag of that particular set, and this happens to be the Bhairav rag, which is a derivation of this Thaat, the Bhairav Thaat. And all other allied rags nearby, they are also called Bhairav, or they are also derived from Bhairav. For instance, last couple of classes back, a couple of sessions back, I had talked about Ahir Bhairav. Ahir Bhairav is actually, according to the Bhatkande Thaats tradition, Ahir Bhairav derives from Bhairav. So Ahir Bhairav is. So it's the Sarigama is the same as Bhairav. Padanisa, it changes. You use the second Dha and the first Ni. And this is, according to them, there can be derived from Bhairav. So he calls it, so they call it a Janya or this one of Bhairav. So that way, he is now eliminated the need for more than one rag from each set. As you can see, the first set in which you can have a rag, you can have a Thaat in Hindustani music, has to be the second one, because the first one can't come, because you can't have two reeds, because that's how it would happen if you were to use it in Hindustani music. So instead, the second set, it starts second chakra or second set, and you have Bhera. I mean, you had Bhairavi, which is actually a Todi of Carnatic music, and then you have the second one, which is Bhairav. Now let's go to the third one. As you can see, he has skipped again. He has gone to number 20, which comes after 18 to 24. Okay, so in the 18 to 24 list, you have 19 to 24 list. You have the raga which is chosen as Asaveri. Asaveri, the Melakarta equivalent of this is Nata Bhairavi. It is ours. Also happens to be our natural minor scale or the Aeolian mode. So you have. Saraj, Shuddha Rishabh, Komal Gandhar, Shuddha Madhyam, Pancham, Komal Dhaivat, Komal Nishad, and Sa. Now, the next raga you would expect would be from the next chakra, which is basically going to be starting from 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Sorry, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Right? So 25. But you will find strangely, he has taken 22. See, because in Hindustani music, it so happens that both what is called Asaveri Thaat as well as the Kafi Thaat, they have a lot of Janya Ragas, a lot of children, a lot of things that can be derived from both independently. So therefore, he has now punched an extra rag into the system, an extra Thaat into the system, which is actually part of the same chakra. He has not followed the same logic of what he has followed for 1 and 2 and 3, or rather up to 3. In fact, 3 and 4 is there from the same set. Now, if you go to the next one, and this is actually very familiar to all of us, it is the Dorian mode. So this is rather small aberration from what. First of all, we can now realize that it is not 32. What should it have been if it is not 32, and if you could derive one all other rags from the one rag of that chakra? What should it have been? Can somebody give me the answer to this?
You're saying when you say chakra, you're calling it as Carnatic chakras?
Carnatic chakra, the set. If we have each set consists of 6.
We have 12 chakras total, right? Or how
12
many?
chakras.
12 chakras minus 4, so 8 chakras. So there should have been 8
There should have been 8
focus.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. As we go on, we have realized now. First, there is already now 2 rags from 2 thoughts from 1 chakra. So the rule has been flouted already. So it's at least 9, right? But let's come back. Let's keep going. So this is another Thaat, and then you go to the next one. I'll go a little fast now. Then you have the Kamaj Thaat, and a very, very famous parent scale, also famous in Carnatic music, Hari Kamboji. A lot of ragas in Carnatic music also are derived from this Thaat, from this Mela, and this is actually very similar to the major scale, except that one note is dropped. I'll play it again. This is number 28 of the Carnatic Melakartas system and forms the Thaat 5 of it. And you will notice now, because there is another very, very important rag, very, very important Thaat from which a lot of ragas are derived, in this set also there is a repeat. And this repeat is nothing but our major scale, Shankara Varnam. And then, so you have now one more anomaly here. Now, naturally, 7th and 8th would be dropped. 7th and 8th sets would be dropped. Sorry, 6th and 7th would be dropped. And you jump to Raga. Thaat 7 jumps all the way to 45, which is it goes to the 8th set, or the 8th chakra, which we call Panthurali, Raga 45. It is called Todi. They're a little confusing. The nomenclature is same, but the ragas are different, or the Thaats are different. We have a Todi, they have a Todi, but our Todi is their Bhairavi, and their Todi is our Panthurali. I mean, I'm using it loosely here, our meaning Carnatic, okay, because we are mainly Carnatic, exponents or practitioners, right? So you have this Todi, which is nothing but Panthurali, which goes, now you have skipped to the Pratimadhyama, or the second Ma now, because we have switched from the first 6 chakras to the next chakra, to the next set, which is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So you're going to 8th, and therefore the Ma changes. So this is actually Panthurali, which is very melancholy. This raga is supposed to give up this Thaat, and ragas derived from this Thaat are supposed to give a very melancholy kind of a feeling. So Panthurali and Todi is a very melancholic rag actually. So this is, so you have another 145. We then switch to the next one. From 8th, he has gone to the 9th now. And in the 9th, again one aberration comes in. We had two aberrations. We had two in the between Asaveri and Kafi, and then you had Khamaj and Shankarabaranam. Now you have 51, which is actually from the 9th, 8th, yeah, 9th, from the 9th set or the 9th chakra. This is called Purvi. This is the Thaat based on which that girl sang that song. Although the Rag Purvi is not exactly same as the Thaat Purvi, the Thaat Purvi is very similar to what we call Panthurali or Kamavardhini. She sang in this rag. The only difference being Purvi rag actually takes on the ma also. This is the first ma also at places. The Purvi rag takes on the first ma in places, but she more or less sang this. If you add 36 to Carnatic that is Mayamala Gole 15, you'll get Panthurali. It's just a change of the Ma becoming from Shuddha Madhyam to the Tivra Madhyam or the Prati Madhyam. So, and now in this Thaat again, you will find there is another rag he has chosen, Gamanashrama. Gamanashrama, or what is called Puriya, in the Puriya, from which is derived Puriya Kalyan and ragas of that nature. We have a rag which is called Purvi Kalyani, which is a derivative of Gamanashrama, and they have a rag called Puriya Kalyan, which is the derivative of Puriya. And this goes very similar to the earlier one, Purvi, except one note there is a difference. Sorry, I got it wrong. Okay. Right. Now, another strange thing has happened in Bhatkande's. What has happened is the next chakra is fully left out. The next chakra actually in Carnatic music has got a lot of familiar rags, a lot of rags with a lot of scope. You have Shanmuga Priya, you have a rag called Chimendha Madhyamam, so you have a rag called Hemavati, you have a rag called Dharmavati, all of which has been left out, which is a little strange, you see, because a lot of these rags give a lot of scope for playing Hindustani music. However, traditionally, one or two rags which could possibly be said to be derived from a raga in this chakra or this set, is traditionally been deemed to be derived from another rag. One rag I can tell you, the rag Madhuvanti. Madhuvanti is a very famous Hindustani rag, and theoretically, it should be derived from a Carnatic rag called Dharmavati, which is actually the 65 minus 6, 59th Melakarta. Right. It should be derived from the 59th Melakarta, which is Dharmavati. Dharmavati and Madhuvanti is a subset of Dharmavati. It's got Sarima, Panisa, Sanidapa, Magarisa. However, because this Sarima, Panisa, Sanidapa, Magarisa is there also in a rag called Multani, which is the derivative of Todi, for some reason, Madhuvanti is called as a Janya or a subset of the Todi scale. The Todi being the Subhapanturali Todi. Subhapanturali equivalent rather. Okay, so they have done it that way. It's not strictly correct, but that's what they have done. So they skipped one entire this one, and we go on to the next and the last rag, which is Yemen or Kalyani. Again, a very famous mode, that is the Lydian mode. Sorry. In almost all systems of music, this is considered a very pleasant, very, very evocative scale. And we use it a lot in Carnatic music. It's used extensively in Hindustani music also. So you'll find that Bhatkande, while deriving and while adapting the Melakarta system, for some reason has systematized Hindustani music to a much better way than the Raga Ragini concept. So today everybody agrees with the Thaat concept, and everybody knows that ragas are derived from these Thaats. However, it is still not totally perfect. It is not as scientifically complete as the Melakarta scheme. Because if it had been complete, it should have had 32. Okay, if you had gone by the concept of we can derive similar rags from the same chakra, from one rag in that chakra, it should have been 8. It is neither 32 nor 8. If he has to have some ragas 2 then there should have been at least one from chakra 10. There is not even one from there. So to that extent, it's with the result, people like Ravi Shankar, who actually play a lot of, who have actually adapted a lot from Carnatic music, they play rags like Simedha Madhyamam, which can call it by its Carnatic name. They play Simedha Madhyamam, call it by a Carnatic name, and they they also play Hemavati. Calling it by its Carnatic name. Okay, so this is a short theory which is extending from Carnatic Melakarta system into the Hindustani Thaat system. The Hindustani Thaat system is very recent. It's not, like I said, it came about because Bhatkande met Subramanya Dikshit, and it is a great meeting, and that meeting resulted in making the Hindustani music system a lot more systematic than it was before. So with that, I'm finishing this little presentation. I think it took a little longer than last time. That's because I had to cover a lot more ground. I'm sorry about that.